morning. And I think I will just spotlight our video, so we will be on the big screen. Yeah. So we are actually at Ellen's house today, and I think what we want to do first is to do some housekeeping matters. Thank you everyone for sharing a bit about yourselves, and I think moving ahead, perhaps if it's easier we would like everyone to mute your mics so it wouldn't interfere with things, and do keep your videos on. That would be great so we can see who I'm talking to and it'll be less awkward. Yeah, so I'll just introduce everyone. This is Daniel, our assistant curator. That's Ellen. I think most of you all know him. And then this is Crystal, our new volunteer and community management intern.
Yeah, I'll be handling Q&A today. So I'll consolidate the questions. You can just type into the private message host chat function. Yeah, or you could just ask at the end. So no problem.
Yeah. So some other stuff is if you have questions, you send to her. If you have Zoom technical issues, private message me. I try my best to fix. Yeah. Other parts would then be throughout this whole town hall, I might come in at a few moments to butt into people talking if we are overrunning on time. And I think we can go. Yeah, let's just start the town hall. So the agenda for today, there are 4 parts to it. First part is we would like to give you guys some updates on what O is doing. So like what Quinn Yan mentioned just now, right? Like y'all haven't really heard from us for quite a bit. We've been doing IO, the small events, the last few years. And then we'll be talking a bit about what's happening for O for the rest of 2020 and the start of 2021. Daniel will come in to talk a bit more specifically about the next program that we are launching that we would like to invite all of you to. And then I'll be sharing the part about how volunteers, we have something for you guys. And then we will end this all with a Q&A. So any questions along the way, feel free to ping it to Crystal. Yeah, let me just share some slides and I will pass to Ellen. Okay. Can you guys see the slides? It's okay?
Yes.
Okay, Ellen, your turn. I will move. Okay. You can come in front if you want.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so let's talk a little bit. If you have been in the know, you know that we've been trying to start our own Upstart Biennale this year, and it was supposed to be happening in June, and it would have been our kind of root, challenge to the national conversation on what kind of art and what kind of platforms can we have to show people different versions and thinking about Singapore. And if you don't know yet, you can also go to our website, which is actually a very, very beautiful website. It's called trilogy.sg. So our Biennale was at a very pompous name called it's called the Trilogy, Elemental Trilogy, and it was about our relationship to natural resource in a time of climate change. So all that, of course, has gone to scratch right now, and the world has been turned upside down, first world nations, but we've been scrambling this year to rejig all of our programs. And so I guess most of you guys being online all the time, all of us, we've seen a lot of digital efforts come out. And we were a bit slow to that digital game, but I think with good reason, because we didn't want to do what everyone else was doing, which is simply virtualize or recreate things that were happening physically. And we were also thinking very much about what is the value of an art walk and what is the different offering that open house gives in terms of an experience, and how do we lead people through particular episodes of history and storytelling and providing new perspectives. So the version that we have come out, if you look on the top left-hand corner, prizes for the fastest fingers to Crystal. I'm just came out with this randomly. Crystal, go and find a prize for who can name that person in the top left-hand corner wearing pink. Okay, fastest fingers, go. Please have some response lah. It's very cute, right? Okay, Crystal got response or not?
No.
Damn you guys. Damn you unenthusiastic town hall people. Okay. So you all got it right?
Yes.
No one got it wrong.
No.
Okay. Okay, this famous person obviously will not be mistaken for anything else. This is our version. We call him the Pink Man because obviously we can't call him Xian Long because he's not our friend. But our first digital offering is called Days and Counting. And if you look at the bottom left-hand corner, it's 30th October, 11th December, and March 2021. Like Netflix, we are now going to be a content provider in seasons format. So the first season, Daniel will be able to actually show you guys a prototype in a bit. And it's called Walls Crumble. And it is really about this weird time of living in this strange, bizarre moment. And what we call it a kind of an ongoing portrait and a time capsule of this COVID era and how that's influenced the domestic sphere and changed our lives. So very first world nations, but what we want to do is be able to draw you back into historical understanding of what is a pandemic, how have people related and changed and reconfigured our lives when pandemics happen, because it's shaped very much of civilization. So that's season 1, which will happen in 30th October. We will also have, will we be talking about viewing parties?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll let you guys talk about that later. And then 11th December is our season 2, which will be a staggered program that is likely to be a teletext. Oh, so the first version is a teletext version. Who is young enough not to know teletext? Please send your answers to Crystal again and we'll give you special treatment. Okay? But it's a teletext adventure through the idea of a dream. And I guess I didn't tell you guys this. So our key fundamental proposition about Days and Counting is that everyone thinks that COVID is a bad dream. And in a bad dream, bad things happen. But when you wake up, everything just goes back to normal. Our proposition is to say that no, it's not just a bad dream. COVID has exposed many of the fault lines that already exist in society. And this could potentially be a cataclysmic event that further deepens and exacerbates all of the fault lines. So that's our proposition. And I think history will prove that we are right. Or the world will end first. Okay, so anyway, 30th October is Walls Crumble. Stay tuned to that. We have lots of things. Our volunteers are also involved. You guys will also be involved. 11th December is the next one called Season, The Distance Between Us. It's about thinking about politics and representation, about how so much of the COVID measures are about medical and political concerns, but don't configure for individual and social relationships. So you will have sort of very crystallized perspectives of artists who have felt like their lives have been shaped by COVID itself. And then season 3 is the last part, which is Waking Up with a Crash. And in this moment right now, we only have one project so far. If you have other artists you'd like to introduce, please let us know. We got some money. But season 3 is myself, Lim Pei. And if you look at the top corner, second to next to Lee Hsien Long, that's me. And that's our ending scene. So it's about a man who cannot sleep. And he starts building all these strange machines to help him sleep. In the end, he converts all the machines into a coffin. And he drowns himself inside. Whether he's dead or is at peace with himself, all of those things are unclear. Existential despair. But in this last one, that you can see that nature has overrun into the urban again. The HDB is just completely overrun with weeds. So that's me. And as part of it, I'll also be putting myself through a 7-day isolation room. So stay tuned to that. Open house might not continue after I die. Okay, so that's that. And then volunteering opportunities will be Days and Counting. In 23rd Jan, we will also have volunteering opportunities. We are doing something called For the House, Against the House, which is essentially us going to private collections, finding an external curator to come in and make a particular social or historical argument. And that's the motion. You know, if you know the debate format, there's the motion. And then he will also, the curator will also commission artists to create the opposition. So through live performances and artworks and installations, they will form an opposition. So there's a debate where we really want the audience to be very invested and super competitive. There are no right or wrong answers. It's just about thoughtful ways of thinking about art. And this is going to be an ongoing thing for us for the next few years, doing our national duty, being part of a big event called Singapore Art Week, which in the past we've always been very blasé about. But as a national company, I guess we have to be more cognizant of these things. Yeah. So that's in 23rd Jan, and there'll be opportunities for volunteers to help to facilitate and lead some of those kinds of discussions in terms of the debate. Okay, so then the next one is our good old familiar Robert Zhao. He's doing something that I think on a tangent, reflects kind of days and counting, which is thinking about COVID and all the invisible things around. So he's looking at nature, but at a scale in which the human cannot comprehend. So it's either like, for instance, an ant's eye view, or the level of such microscopic details that it just beyond our comprehension, or else like drone level, God's eyes view, or about thinking about ecosystems which are really fragile in this time. So this will likely be what we call a virtual physical hybrid. It will be a mix of virtual, but also being able to traverse and explore the forest and look at different things. Obviously, when I told you about microscopic scale that we cannot encounter, some of those things will have to be digital, right? So those are our programs for coming up at least from now until next year, March. And I am rolling out a 5-year plan soon, which we will of course have a town hall and share with all of you guys. We do want Open House to offer a real viable alternative to the way that national museums and galleries present art. You've been a volunteer and you know the value from which our audiences can actually feel like they're part of that discussion and learning about new stories and new histories about Singapore. So I think that's pretty much our season offering for this year. Open House is Netflix, and then now it's the most fun part. Daniel, our assistant curator, has been given the creative lead to do this. He came up with the idea of Lee Hsien Loong. So if anyone wants to sue us, it's on Daniel, but he will take you through a prototype. We're very proud of it. I haven't seen it. Be as critical as you want to hear. Actually take you through the experience of what it is. It's not complete, of course, but Daniel, you want to take over? Okay, sayonara, guys.
Oh, you want to talk about this? No. Okay. So I think before I start, I would like to say that this is, I guess, the first program that O has taken online. And I think we're very quiet for this year because we've taken a lot of time to regroup and think about how we can translate a kind of physical artwork and try to capture that spirit of awe on a digital platform. And we were trying to not be another boring art exhibition where you walk through the same white walls or this kind of same Google Map style kind of thing. And we're really trying to integrate what we thought O did best and O's perspective in such trying times. So do I click and then it goes?
No.
That's it.
Let me just change it to yeah.
Okay, so this is our landing page. It's live if you all have seen our Facebook and Instagram page. So these are the 3 seasons that have not been launched yet. So this is the only one that we're going to launch in October.
Sorry, yeah, I'll take that out muting.
So this is currently still a draft version. So this is sample music that has been added in. But how you would so the first thing that you see is that this is kind of a living room overtaken in a kind of dreamscape. And it alludes to kind of the dreamlike state we were in during Circuit Breaker. And so the entire first season centers around kind of what we feel is what the start of COVID was like for us Singaporeans when it really hit home and really entered our personal lives, which was the Circuit Breaker. And we want to reference how all of the walls were kind of crumbling. The personal and physical spaces were bleeding into each other, work and play merged, and even taking a rest felt very awkward during such a time. Hence the title was Crumple. The main experience will take in the form of a retro teletext television. What that means is that the experience would start on a television model. And will take place on a retro television model, and each artist's artwork or description will all take the form of teletext. So instead of a guided tour, it will take the form of a TV channel guide, and you'll be able to traverse through this television and see the different experiences and stories told during this time. It will be a mix of artworks, which you're seeing here now, one of the sample works, or it also take the form of we don't have the teletext mode. Oh no. take the form of historical research that tries to rationalize the pandemic as well. So it will be a mix, but there will also be a guided version that will take the form of a digital artwork that we will try to mimic as well. But you're free to roam too. Do you want to go into a volunteering party now?
This is all we have for the prototype.
Yeah.
It's so late. Oh, sorry.
No, this is our first time doing digital, so we struggle with tech.
Maybe Daniel was trying to share so much of the conceptual boundaries. Maybe I can just try to anchor you guys in this. So essentially, if you guys know teletext has channels. Channels get updated, and you can surf through all the different channels. So what we have is the story of a sleeping man, who's our intern actually, Marvin. And this sleeping man falls asleep and then enters in the teletext as a dream. And through this dream, he encounters both historical stories, strange figures like Lee Hsien Loong as the pink man who haunts his dreams, and historical stories about like St. John Island's quarantine. And along the way, artworks will be able to flesh out and illustrate some of these more emotional moments as well. So that's our teletext offering.
No, we got better pictures.
Oh, we got better. We're just going to show you some pictures.
Sandra. Okay, let me just share again. Sorry.
Anyone can just walk us through the narrative. Don't need to talk so much about
the whole narrative. I think it's okay. Yeah. So as you know, this whole pandemic, the main face of it was actually PM Lee, and whenever he appears on the news, the pink man as we call him, it will induce a reaction. Whether it's aunties going to shopping centers, all of us wondering whether we're going to work from home or what's going to happen. He's the kind of main lead character in the circuit breaker, and hence he's also taken the form of an 8-bit teletext version in our experience. So interspersed throughout the artworks, you will see him popping up at key moments during the circuit breaker, such as panic buying, asking everyone to stay calm, the announcement of fortitude budgets, or him here announcing that circuit breaker has started with COVID. It's quite cute. Yeah, and then this announcing the unity, fortitude budgets. Or people rushing to go and buy groceries in reaction to all of these.
Can I chip in a little bit? So I think Daniel is underselling his wonderful product. But can we go back to the unity thing? So for instance, what we mean by historical topics interspersed with artwork is like, we'll talk about this budgets that are given out, but then the next artist that's going to show up in your teletext is Pat Low, and she's really performing a particular kind of anxiety about being unemployed, trying to find a way to get some of that money, etc. So you can see that the narrative actually leads into the artworks there.
In some form, a digital artwork. We are trying, we see how. So all of this will take you through a journey that hopefully will be a more nuanced and holistic version of the circuit breaker that you can both relate to, but also adds value to that. It's not just you reliving the traumas of, now I'm stuck at home. Yeah.
See those my things, hello, show on. Daniel is very proud of it, so he doesn't want to show off. But I'm quite excited, so I want to see. Okay, so we just see fast. I also haven't seen them this is the first time I've seen them as well.
Okay, it's out of context.
Wow, see the Matrix, world collapses. More Matrix moments in PM Lee. This is, I guess, the journey all of us have taken. We are falling into an endless abyss.
What's after that? No more, right?
Fall, water splash, fall some more, fall into the internet takeover. Oh, look at this. This is the advertisement for all of us to visit quarantine at St. John Islands.
So this is what I mean by historical research. So unlike a lot of old tours, right, we talk about the history of the certain sites, not just the current state of it, right? And so when we look at COVID, we were like, there's no neighborhood for COVID. What is the site-specific history of COVID? But turns out there's actually a lot of history that has influenced Singapore's living, not just from SARS, but like all the way back from St. John's, that is known as a tourist extraction. It was actually used as a quarantine port. And some, research articles like these or how the disease has influenced urban planning, like HDBs were actually created in reaction to chlorella. So things like these, in addition to chlorella? Chlorella? Cholera.
Daniel has issues pronouncing stuff, in case you haven't realized.
Yeah,
So that's it. Don't show people too much, right?
I think there's no more already.
You see, this one very cool, right? This is like you'll learn shit about cities and how it's changed our lives.
Come for this, you learn shit.
Yeah, panic buying. Okay, I'm seeing this for the first time as well, guys. So, oh, I guess these are not fireworks. Those are coronaviruses invading the city.
Oh, these
These are all our artists transformed into 8-bit teletext. I think Daniel really doesn't want to give away too much, so
you show everything already.
but you never tell him the content, what the artists are doing. Yeah. Okay, so yeah.
Just wait for it, 30th, that's the launch.
Okay, how do I go back to the camera?
Okay, so
Okay. Yeah. It's okay, I can deal with this.
Okay.
My turn. It's me again. Yeah. Okay, so I guess what I'm going to talk about is more on what is it for you guys for this season. So I think initially we had some trouble trying to figure out like what can we do to involve our volunteers in the digital realm, because every time you guys were a part of OS programs, it's mostly physical. It's artworks, you guys were guides, you guys were FOH and helping us dealing with the audience facing side. And I think this is something that we thought about, and I think we are going to just try it to see if it might be a possible format for bringing, somewhat merging the digital realm and the physical realm, and still having you guys, our volunteers, to be the face of open house. So this thing is something that we call viewing parties. So it's basically where we gather together to view something together. Yeah, so there are both digital and physical versions, but I think the whole idea around it came from how, you know, when we talk about days and counting, when we talk about walls crumble, basically we are pulling together a collection of different personal perspectives of how people experience COVID, and specifically for this season, how people experience the circuit breaker. And to us, everyone, every single person, including our guides, including ourselves, everyone all had a specific experience and a specific response to this whole situation. We are all a part of it. And I think that our volunteers are very interesting people, and some of them have very like unique things that might have happened to them in their lives, be it through work or through family and home that they experienced as well. So some of these stories relate to the themes that our artists are exploring. So how this viewing parties format is gonna be, it will be our volunteer guides, a couple of them. They will have individual sessions where each session will be led by one particular guide talking about their personal experience and in relation to the artworks and the themes that we talk about. So for example, some of the guides that we have that I'll actually mention, Shindy is on this call. We said hi to her just now. So she's gonna be one of our volunteer hosts. And there is Shin and Jessie, and then we have Kirti and Daniel to come in from O's perspective. So for example, with Shin, he's a psychologist. One of the ways that he might be hosting these viewing parties could be from this point of view as a psychologist from his work. What has he been seeing? Perhaps he has been seeing cases where people start talking a lot about having to feel super productive even in this period where we're all stuck at home and things like that. So it's gonna be a little performative element to it. And then at the end of it, we'd like to hold some sort of discussion and conversations about with the guides and also about the artworks. So these are gonna be held as physical and digital sessions, like I said. Digital is gonna be through Zoom, and I think for this season itself, because we're looking at it as a trial, we would like to invite all of you guys who are not guides to come in as participants. So For this week, the first week of November that I've highlighted here, these sessions are exclusive to volunteers and your friends. So you guys can invite your friends to come down as well. The digital ones will be held on Zoom. And the physical ones, we are going to rent a space. It's one of those, like, it used to be a dodgy bar at Circular Road, like those very blacked out space, but they were vacated. So that's where we'll be hosting it. We still need to keep it to 5 people a group, so it's a very intimate set.
Actually, workshop can do 10.
Okay, 5 to 10 people. Yeah, because of requirements. So I think we will be sending out more details. Right now it's still sort of in the planning phase. And we also planned it with some of our audience.com members. And yeah, we'll just launch more details to you guys. I hope that it's something that you guys could participate in. Okay, Alan wants to talk again.
Okay, guys, I'm super excited about this because I think that it's a fundamentally different experience, and that's the thing that we need to grasp. When you are leading an art walk, you have essentially a script, and we mostly follow that script. This version, however, is about you. It's not so much about you bringing people through the script of our teletext Sleeping Man version, but thinking about your own life, your own lived experience, and then using some of those artworks to then frame those things. So for instance, when Shin, the psychologist, starts talking, it's not going to be welcome to the Sleeping Man. It's going to be, hello, my name is Shin. I'm a psychologist. I work at MINDEF. I've seen many recruits over this course of the period, and this is how it's changed some of their lives. I want to talk about some of the artwork in relationship to these experiences. So it's, I guess what you can call, Quisha was very concerned about this because it means actually a lot of work, right? From the volunteer part as well. But I think this is where we really have the opportunity to see that everybody's lived experience is worth sharing in some ways if we can find and construct the right experience there. I guess it's a high commitment, but also freaking high rewards kind of space. And the thing about the digital especially is that it can be a more discussion kind of platform rather than a presentation thing. You know, in our artworks, our audiences are largely passive. There's no space for discussion. This is really an opportunity where you allow the audience to then also feel like they have a stake. They've had an experience and they can share their version as well. So hold on to those things. And we are just trying out 3 this time. But my hope is that you guys will be on board here with us as guests. And then the next season, season 2, remember, we will have like 200 versions of our volunteers proliferating Singapore and changing the narrative of COVID, which is so terrible right now and so boring, right? Let's share our own versions then.
Yeah, so like what Ellen shared about this big dreams on the numbers, we hope that you guys can come to attend, to have some feedback for us, and hopefully for the next few seasons, you guys would be excited to sign up for it as well, to host viewing parties. Okay, I think that's all. Anyone still want to talk anything?
What else? No more slides.
No more slides already.
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah, so you can do your questions, I guess.
Okay, so I think Crystal has been collating questions. So
Yeah, I have
you can
collated.
come in. Let me move. Stop the screen share.
Lisa, can you introduce yourself also? Okay?
Oh,
what
sure.
do you do in life? Nobody knows you.
Hi again, I'm the current community intern, so I'm a fresh grad actually. I just started like 2.5 weeks ago or so.
What a terrible time to graduate from school, right?
Yeah, I know, right? Like, yeah. So I really relate to season 1. Lots of anxiety, lots of confusion. But I'm here now and I'm trying my best to get my life on track. So I've consolidated the questions. There are only 1 question.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you have any other questions, like just feel free to ask or text in the group. But please use the raise hand function so that I can see who is asking. So the question is from Kunyan, and Kunyan asks, why teletext? So maybe Daniel or Ellen, would you like to
Yes,
share a
I
bit more?
prepared my whole life for this question.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi. Okay. So basically, before that, I think I want you all to think back how long it's actually been during circuit breaker. It's not been very long, but it feels like literal years. So the whole idea of using teletext is that weird dissonant, that dilation in time. It feels longer than it should be. But of course, people who are younger, it's completely new lah. So
For example, Daniel didn't know what
I didn't know what teletext was. So I was like, what is this? But okay lah, we're assuming that our audiences are older than my age lah, essentially. Yeah, I hope that answers the question.
That's your answer?
Yeah.
You've been preparing a life for such a terrible answer.
I shortened one.
Huh? That's all?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, the last time you explained something.
But you were confused still.
But maybe it's me being confused.
I did not my answer. I answered so many times.
Might ask, will we lose audience at your age then?
Yeah, we don't care about other people because they have no money to donate.
No, Mike. Coming from audience being our age, I think that it's like damn retro and fun that I would just be interested. And I think that our age people in the 20s, some of us, like, when we used to go to our Apang Ama's house, we would have seen them play with teletext to watch the 4D, all those things. So there's some sort of like memory about it, but we don't really know how it functions. Yeah. So I think that one shouldn't be an issue. We'll leave it to Carissa to market.
Actually, for younger audiences, right, you'll see it as 8-bit rather than teletext. Like my first reaction was, this is like the games I grew up with rather than teletext.
Anyway, there's a whole new meta level that Daniel's underselling, but you can, when you see your volunteer guidebooks, are we having volunteer guidebooks? Yeah, you will see some of the more discursive explanations, I guess, and it's quite meta. So from the teletext, the next thing is you're going to enter into the matrix of the internet in season 2 lah. Okay, these kinds of questions are good. Let's have more difficult questions.
So does anyone ask any questions?
Or comments or whatever. Or you want to see the pink man again?
Oh, okay. So Aaron asked, how can they help? How can the volunteers help with marketing since the November calendar seems quite crowded?
I think the best answer to that is for me to ask it back to you. How can you help us? Yeah. But I think really the whole fact that we were trying to foreground our volunteers as the interface and going through their personal lives is really about that. Rather than us trying to mass market to say this is the new exciting program, we're much more keen that we can surface people within their groups and their realms and networks of friends. Like, when Shindy talks about it, I imagine all her friends would be super interested. In season 2, when we have 200 volunteers doing that, then we have 200 multiplied by, let's say everybody has an average of 20 friends. Okay? Yeah.
I recommend.
Yes.
Recommend how to market this.
Yeah, okay. Daniel has more specific ways.
As you can see, we're quite chaotic.
So I think one way the volunteers can actually help to market is by relating their experiences with this time. Because I think unlike many of the neighborhoods, everyone has a story to tell that if we really wanted to, we could fit all of your stories into this narrative. And I think the best kind of marketing is a kind of honest marketing where you draw people in with your own stories and maybe how you personally relate to some of the artworks or experiences in Walls Crumble when it comes out.
Yeah, I guess you don't have to market for us. I think you just, like Daniel said, you just talk about your own questions. I mean, I think a lot of questions that we all have no answers right now because this is still unfurling, right? So even a simple Facebook page or Facebook post with a link to see days and counting, or maybe perhaps if you're more on, you would write a specific email to a specific friend and say, hey, I know you've really suffered in this time, and this is something that I think you might find interesting in relationship with COVID. And just because I'm so sort of fake rebel anti-establishment, I think that the discourse that's been set on COVID right now has been quite narrow actually, and so we were hoping, and please tell us if we've failed terribly. If you look at what NGS is doing, all the other galleries about COVID, it's all at the level of platitudes. They will make some attempt to talk about themes of loneliness, time, etc. But they don't really exist at a level where it's really reflective or really trying to encounter what exactly COVID is. So, I think, in other words, I'm saying they are very shallow. So I hope that we are not shallow. And if you think that we are shallow, you need to tell us as well, because then we've totally failed the game and we're not open house yet. Okay, good question.
Yeah, so we have a bit of questions coming in. The first one's about the viewing party. So how is the digital experience different from the physical? So which you would like to share with it? Yeah, and the second one is we can also deal with what's the format like, the structure, and so on.
Yeah, so the questions that Zaki and Olivia mentioned, I think for the questions that Zaki and Olivia mentioned about the viewing parties, so in general, for the digital and the physical versions, they might be quite similar, but we imagine the digital one to be something that is more of a passive or a small discussion where for now we are putting it to be 20 people because we think that since it's going to be volunteers, people are more willing to talk like you guys to the host for it. And for the physical version, I would then say that it's something that feels very like you're really in the actual space with the person, and the discussions would then be centered around like it's just being set in a different mood. And I think that the physical ones would be for people who are more engaged with us and would like to take some time out to come down and experience this. Yeah.
So I think that would they interact with the artists in the same way? So no.
Yeah, so for now, Kunyan's question on interaction with the artists, our artists are currently not involved in any of the official programs, but let me have a think about it. Let me see if I might be able to put the artists in for some of it. Like for example, Kati and Daniel, they'll be doing their versions as well, where it comes from O's narrative. So Daniel will be talking more about the art side, Kati more about the historical research, the narrative side. So we might be able to invite our artists down for that. So we'll think about it. Thank you.
When is the viewing party starting?
Viewing parties will be in November.
Okay,
Yeah,
and we've kind of planned it so that, I mean, it's an internet product. It can continue to morph and change. This is a whole new ball game for us in terms of exactly how, when Olivia asked about what's the structure of the thing, we don't know if we have the right formula. We are thinking that this is it, but we're going to be running focus groups and testing all of that. And the volunteers, I think you guys are the perfect focus group for us. So that's where we try to continually improve, and really you should be giving us your feedback and your thoughts about the process as well. That's where we hope to get it to something that really works at the craft and the level of how we know an artwork functions quite well. And we don't know right now what's the best formula there. But this is our plan for world domination, of course. Now that digital, you can do a lot more things.
Yeah. So thanks guys for all the questions. Any more else to ask?
Can I just share something that I've... Oops. Hello, can you hear me? Okay.
Sorry, still can't hear.
Oh, wait.
You knew all right.
Hello.
Okay, got it. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to share. It's in terms of like the discussion format. There was like an online show that I attended. That was exploring about like race, not just in Singapore but also in America. And something that they did was very interesting for me as an audience was the use of like the polling tool as a way of a discussion. Because in the play itself, they give like different scenarios between like two characters, and these scenarios are very ambiguous. Like I may look at it in one way, but another person who is looking at it from a different background may see it in a different kind of light. And they use this polling question where it's like a statement, and then like whether you agree, disagree. Like, so for example, one of the statements that they said is silence is a form of protest. And then as an audience, you can vote whether that's like agree or disagree. And I will vote, and then like 10 seconds later, I can see the results of the other people who voted as well. And actually that is pretty impactful for me, because that also, when my view is in a minority, or usually in a minority, like sometimes, then it also made me question like, oh, like this is my assumption, like what would make other people think that way. So that I thought was a very interesting way of interaction, of like questioning, and also surprisingly impactful as an audience, because it made me reflect of my own values and assumptions. Yeah.
Thank you, Olivia. That is super important, and actually I think we didn't think about that. But one of the things that we need to embrace with digital is it offers so much more possibilities in terms of how the audience can be engaged. And not just run it fair, for instance, like a theatre post-show talk where a few people who are very outspoken will dominate the floor and then nobody else dares to talk. But this, like you say, is an opportunity for people to have baby steps into that conversation. And I think it needs to be scripted in particular ways where it's digitally given rather than just at the end, who has questions, who want to talk, that kind of thing.
Yeah, okay.
Nice, huh?
Yes.
Okay,
Thanks,
fantastic. Yeah, thank you. Give you 5 points. I don't know, you can redeem your points later with Crystal.
Yeah.
Anybody got more of this kind of input? This is fantastic actually, or just other random comments?
Yeah, like based on some of the maybe digital things that you guys have experienced previously.
Are we able to do a poll straight away?
We can. I also have a poll later, which is for NEC survey.
But I would like a poll on whether you all think that our teletext days and counting is shallow or is potentially very deep.
I could share some of the comments that they gave already.
Oh, okay. Then you just read out.
Yeah, so y'all gave some comments on the teletext. Thanks, guys. So someone said that it was very Neil Gaiman-ish. Do y'all know who's that? The writer, right? Yeah. The music is good, but that's not the that's not the official music. But thanks. Yeah, that's not the official music. But thanks, guys. They really love the vibe. Yeah, and it's like a game. And someone asked that it's a bit like Enter the Sandman, but I'm not very sure what's that. And it's a bit cliche. Does anyone know what Sandman is?
Is it Mike? Mike, is it your comment?
Is it? Yeah.
Enter
Is
the
it?
Sandman
Enter the
is a
Sandman.
game.
Yeah.
I think that's also the comic.
Mike, do you want to like elaborate a bit about what you mean by the Sandman? Oh, I think you're on mute.
It's by Metallica from Shindy.
Oh, it's a song. I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hui is setting up a poll right now.
it's okay. Okay, go ahead. The other questions.
Let's see. Oh, Sandman is also. Oh, it's a graphic novel written by Neil Gaiman. Oh, that I know. Yeah. Yes. So like, now you're not revealing your age, actually. I also know Neil Gaiman. I'm given. If you watch Good Omens, it's a very good show. So, does anyone else have like any questions to ask about the viewing party? Maybe like future programs. Like, if you have any other like feedback or comments for the teletext. No. Well then, in that case, does which want to go with the polls then?
Okay, so what's gonna happen to Wood? Alan?
Oh, cancel lor.
Ah,
Like COVID, everything is cancelled. No lah. So Wood is postponed indefinitely because JTC, if you know, is the major landlord, has ghosted us. They have a lot more issues to deal with the dorms and everything else there. So I think one of the things that we're trying to do is to plan so that we can not be just waiting indefinitely. So it's likely that Wood will happen in 2022. And for next year, I'm actually planning another art walk, and it will be at Woodbridge Hospital. It's about the history of madness in Singapore at a time when, if you look back, some madness and all of that used to be part of our national day-to-day life. It's very heterogeneous, like lepers, mad people, it's all mixed in. But today we found a way to define very clearly what is the norm and who is outside the norm. And if you think about all of even like when we deal with like Woodbridge, nobody talks about Woodbridge anymore, but in the past people used to be like, you know, if you are naughty, I'll send you to Woodbridge. For those of you guys who are old enough to remember, but we never ever talk about Woodbridge anymore. If you Google it, it's hard to find info as well. They've completely rebranded the thing into wellness and IMH and all of that. So I think it might be interesting to find some insanity again. And yeah, so we're going to be making site visits soon. I welcome you guys to come. I have this weird idea to make it a very unhinged show. So rather than the very formal open house art walk experience, I would like to assign the artist roles in the hospital. Like for instance, say you are the doctor, you are a warden, you are a historian, you are patient A, patient B, patient C, and then just let them go crazy so that when we enter that place, we can also altogether descend into madness. So that kind of art walk, I think, would be quite bizarro. And so anyway, we're trying to do an art walk so that everyone can do art walk next year together.
yeah. Hopefully. See, everyone sounds excited about Woodbridge.
That was great.
Yeah.
Any other questions that y'all have?
Last call, last call.
Can you all be more talkative now? Is it like
Y'all can like,
generally I run out of steam and I'm like I want to leave you guys, but today we still have a lot of energy, and so if you guys want to just like say something rude or just talk, we should. I mean, don't just type. You can actually talk as well.
Yeah. Just unmute yourselves. I think more or less it's quite casual already. Anything? Okay. Yeah, I think then I shall not take up too much of your time. And as usual, I know this is not really our event, but I'm just gonna launch an NAC poll. If you guys feel like helping us get some money, please tell me to answer the poll.
Hey, I guess Krish is very. I'm just keep going. Wait, let me just keep going on.
Oh wait.
Wait. Oh.
It's okay.
Let him finish first, lah.
You can keep talking.
It's
just a pop-up.
Should I be the one or should you be the one? Do I look at the back end? Donation and how to structure the donation then after we do the
I'm not sure.
How much is one survey's question?
How much is one survey? It used to be $44 lah, but I don't know how much it is now. I think now it's a bit lower.
If you just told everybody that if you attend the town hall, then you get this one, I think you have higher attendance.
You really?
Yeah, it's worth $35 for us. And people won't cost us.
Maybe that shall be my point now.
Written participants.
Hey, guys, I mean, it's quite interesting to do the digital way of like a digital artwork. But I think then the next challenge would be to see how people can seamlessly bring in both digital and physical elements in a way that they complement each other. I think that's the biggest challenge that I think arts groups are now facing, because I think a lot of people have this impression that, or maybe that's what I heard a lot, like when you think of digitizing, it's really about, oh, I'm just gonna transform something into this physical thing into something that can be viewed online. But I think there needs to be better integration in terms of looking at digital as a valid form in its own and seeing how it can be integrated in a way within a physical space that makes sense rather than just being plonked into the physical space. So I think that's a challenge that you guys need to sort of think more about. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how the physical version of the digital, the physical version will turn out. But I think this is like something to think about in the future. Yeah.
For sure. Thank you, Zaki. We are also all constantly grappling with that. And everyone is, right?
Yeah.
To share to build on Zaki's point, there was an online experience that I think they managed to transform sort of like a physical experience into digital, but that is more of a performance. It's called this performance called Eschaton. I will type in the chat later the name. So it's quite amazing how as an audience, it's like as if we are exploring a club and there are like different rooms. So there are like different like performers. So there is, of course, there's dancing, but there's also like singing. There's also something that is more like riddle, like puzzle, like solving. And interestingly, there are some people who kept coming back to the experience like week by week. I think because because they are leaving more like puzzles and riddles for people like to solve. And there's a lot of different rooms to explore and they are all using like Zoom. So it's quite interesting how they use the website. And then there is also the secret code that people can key in to unlock like more rooms along the way. Yeah, so I will share the experience. Yeah.
Are these live performances or all pre-recorded?
It's live performances. So the club is only open, it's like from New York lah. So it's 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. New York time, which is 10 a.m. 11 a.m. Singapore time. I think it's still running right now lah. So it's still possible to check it out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Should I ask about the question about timing? Because I really wanted to.
Ask lah, you ask.
You all don't believe me.
Yeah.
No, I thought I said it.
Okay, group photo?
Yes, give me a while.
You want to share the audience survey results? No, would they be access to seeing this?
No.
Okay,
But
there
it's
were
not-
only 12 people who voted.
There's only 12 people here.
Yes, okay. I see. Magic, okay.
Hey, Yen's here.
Oh, Yen's coming.
Oh.
Okay.
Why don't you just let him come in and just say hi to everyone and we can
That's
call it
it.
later.
Okay, let me just do a big screen.
Hi, Yen.
Hi, Yen. We are ending, Yen. You are muted.
I think I got the timing wrong. Not like the whole hour.
It's okay. We recorded it. You can rewatch it.
Okay.
Okay, shall I take a group photo? Ernest, Anne, and Mark, do you guys, is it convenient to switch on your cam? If not, I'll just like screenshot with your names lah.
I can't, sorry. My
Okay.
internet is really bad.
No worries. Ernest. Okay lah. Okay, let me just, I'm gonna do a screenshot. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I will post it up somewhere. This is a very sad photo.
What do you feel say? Send something about everyone. Okay, no? I guess that's good photo. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I think that's about it. Thank you all for spending this 1 hour with us. It's good to see you guys again, even though it's on the screen. Really hope to see you all physically soon.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay, see
you.
next
Bye.
Bye. Yen. Yen damn funny, sir.
Is this yours?
Stop recording.